Hi there! Привіт усім! У цьому відео будемо говорити про конкуренцію, а також про те, на що звертають увагу інвестори в IT-сфері, коли обирають компанію, в яку вони будуть інвестувати, а також про те, що таке Facebook-ефект. Як з ним боротися і про що він свідчить. Розібратися у цих питаннях нам допоміг Павло Шеремета. Ми вже опублікували відео з ним. Це інтерв'ю про те, як здійснити прорив компаніям, містам та країнам, а також про цінності, якими повинні керуватися компанії. Павло Шеремета поділився, крім того, теж літературою, яку варто почитати молодим людям у 2018-2019 роках. Нагадаю, що Павло Шеремета – це співзасновник майстерні стратегії «Прорив in UA», міністр економіки і торгівлі України у 2014 році, очільник Київської школи економіки та перший декан Києво-Могилянської бізнес-школи. А також він очолював Інститут стратегії Блакитного океану у Малайзії.
So, I asked the IT investor, because the whole situation is closer to this 21st century industries, and IT obviously is one of them. Is like, what investor, what do you look at? I mean, do you look at the plan, or what do you look at when you make a decision to invest in IT? Okay? Not into the
UBS group,
not into the huge capital-intensive factory, right? Just in IT. And then they said, no, I never look at the plan because I believe it's a waste of time. I believe it's a waste of time. Apart of one thing, it just shows the discipline that you can do the plan. You can put yourself and do the plan. But otherwise, the plan is usually useless. I mean, we have no clue what will happen in the next week, month, year. Who knows? I mean, nobody knows. So basically, it's almost useless. However, what is not useless is what he said, what the team did during the last week. So show me the progress over the last week, what you really did over the last week, and then the next week, and then the next week, because obviously the decision is not made today on Saturday. So show me, your next progress for the next week, and then one more week, and then one more week, and it comes into a month. Month is not a big period, and yet these are 4 weeks. And if you have done nothing, there is a trend. If you have done a lot, there is another trend. Well, it might repeat yourself, maybe not, but still, if you did something over 4 weeks, it's already at least it's becoming representative. So basically, to summarize, I guess that many of our viewers are the ones who are in probably less less capital-intensive industries, because as we say, Facebook has no computers, Uber has no taxi cars, Airbnb has no hotels, so we all try to minimize. I just realized that, just read an article, Coca-Cola is trying to reduce the number of staff and the number of assets. On the one hand, on the other hand, they just acquired the Costa chain of coffee shops. So they decided they do need something. They do need some assets to have a direct contact with the clients. So it all depends. You need to have your balance. So in the summary, you need to have a balance between the plan that you have, at least in general, maybe not in detail. Well, in detail if it's capital intensive, and then most importantly is the progress that you have done, especially during the last week. And they might look at the last month, maybe last quarter, last year.
Great. You told about the breakthrough, the performance of the teams. What about the competition? Is it a good process or a bad one? Does it stimulate the growth, in your opinion? Yes. I love competition. I love, because nothing pushes and stimulates me more than a good competition, and nothing stimulates me more than reading my timeline in Facebook in the morning for about 10 minutes, because that's the most I can afford, because I have a good timeline. There's a lot of active, interesting people doing a lot of stuff, and by minute 10, I'm laying in the bed and I'm saying,
goodness, like all these guys already did so much and I'm still in bed,
Time to get up.
And by the way, to be honest, it's wrong, because like my assistant yesterday wrote to me, here I'm in Vinny's, and she says, you have such a cool life, you have such a, she's writing me from Korea. And we did not meet for like 2 or 3 weeks because of summer, whatever. She was relaxing, I was relaxing, maybe way more than she. But anyway, we never met during the last 3 weeks. And she says, what are the new tasks? I said, but wait a minute, I did not deal with the previous ones. But she says, you have such a cool life, so, you're so busy. I said, you know what? It's just Facebook effect, because when I'm laying in bed, bored to death, I don't put it on Facebook. I'm just saying, okay, we opened this factory. Like yesterday we met with the new tourism lady in Vinnytsia. I'm so happy. She's my old friend, very good friend, very, very accomplished lady from Lviv. She helped Lviv to create all the success. Now she's in Vinnytsia, so that's on my Facebook again. So you put things that are cool, that signal the accomplishment, and then you think it's like the whole world is like this and the whole life is like this. But anyway, it's better to think that the whole life is like this.
But
it's better to think that competitors are active, because you don't want to be totally surprised that you're out of business, one day, because you overlooked their success. And by the way, pray for the competitors who put their accomplishments on Facebook, okay? Because some of them are smarter and they don't talk about it until the very last moment, until everything is ready, and until they have basically the product out on the shelves, and you're totally surprised because you have no clue about it. So hope and pray that your competitors are noisy, chatty, talking about all this stuff, and then so you know about their progress, and they are motivating you. About you and your competition, don't copy it, because if you copy these moves, you enter into red ocean. I'm not the biggest fan of the red ocean, unless you can do it cheaper. But then if you do it cheaper, your margin is squeezed, so your profit is squeezed. So why don't you create something new? You get inspired by your competition, but then you think, let me do something different. Let me do something better but different. Okay, so that's what you need the competition for.
You mentioned the red ocean, and nowadays it's like the buzzword, blue ocean, red ocean.
It's already for 12 years, I have to tell you.
Wow.
Since the book was published, yes.
Many people still have no clue what it means.
Read the book.
Read the book.
Blue Ocean Strategy, or the most recent one, it's even better one, Blue Ocean Shift by Professors Kim and Moborn. Both are my favorite books. But if you did not read any of them, then start with the latest one, because it has the most advanced, the most recent thinking on the issue. And their idea is like exactly what I have just told. Instead of competing head-to-head with exactly the same products and services with your competitors, meaning you have to be either bigger. Now we're all small in this country, or at least almost all of us, because the market is small. Unfortunately, it's a big country, but it's a small market. So the companies tend to be small, unless, again, they're, as I mentioned, UBC Group. This is a global group. They have some 20% of the world market in some of the products, as I learned yesterday too. I knew it before, but it was when they opened this factory here in Vinnytsia. So you have to be either bigger or cheaper. Well, if you're bigger, God bless you. You don't need me. But if you're cheaper, you also don't need me, because your margins are so thin and your profits are so small. And then by the way, many people complain that the garment is bad, that the conditions were not good. Our garment is not ideal. I know something about it. But it's mostly not because of the garment. It's just because you and I, same thing like me, did not think hard enough, how to create a different offering. Different, not the same, but different offering. And Professors Kim and Moborn call it your own blue ocean. Create your own blue ocean. That's the key word, create. Don't copy. Don't try to catch up with somebody. Create your own blue ocean where you're the only one. And give me your favorite example. I mean, what would be a good example for you of blue
The schools
ocean?
of English.
Oh, the schools of English.
This is the red ocean.
Well, I don't know. I mean, hopefully it's not. Guys, don't put me on the red ocean product. Okay. So hopefully you can do something which is also blue ocean. Look, by the way, you're the first ones who are interviewing me, and I know that there's other people for English course. I was interviewed once for the economics course for Prometheus. Prometheus is in Ukraine is still in a way a blue ocean because it's a combination of education and entertainment and internet and online course and whatever it is. People might say that, okay, but Coursera is there. Yes, but Coursera is global, and if you want to have local courses, you would have a hard time, downloading it or using it with Coursera. Prometheus is much closer, it's much better.
Now, after you watch this interview with Pavlo Sheremeta, I suggest you guys to expand your vocabulary in English by means of learning some useful phrases and word combinations from what Pavlo Sheremeta said. Let's get started. It's a waste of time. Це марна трата часу. For example, reading books that you don't like is just a waste of time. Читати книги, які вам не подобаються, це марна трата часу. The next one is useless. Марно, даремно, безглуздо. For example, using your smartphone apps only in order to improve your English skills is useless. Використовувати лише тільки мобільні додатки на вашому смартфоні для того, щоб покращити англійську мову, це безглуздо. It's just a waste of time. To make a decision – приймати рішення. For example, I made a decision to invest 30 minutes each and every day in English. Я прийняла рішення інвестувати 30 хвилин щоденно в англійську мову. Otherwise – інакше, в інакшому випадку. Otherwise, I will not improve my English skills this year. Інакше, в такому випадку, в протилежному випадку, цього року я не зможу покращити навички англійської мови. In terms of – стосовно, з точки зору, щодо. For example, in terms of my speaking skills, I made a decision that I need to practice more. З точки зору розмовних навичок, я вирішила, що я повинна практикуватися більше. To have no clue – не мати жодного поняття. For example, I have no clue how I will squeeze learning English into my busy schedule, but I will try to do so. Я не маю жодного поняття, як мені втиснути англійську мову в свій насичений графік, але я буду старатися зробити це. However, проте, однак. However, I can and I will invest my time and efforts into improving my English skills. Проте я можу і я буду інвестувати свої час і зусилля у покращення англійської мови. Staff – персонал. Please do not confuse this word with staff, річ, or stuff like that, і таке інше, і таке подібне. For example, the staff of this hotel is really nice. They help me with checking in, checking out, and stuff like that. Персонал цього готелю дійсно дуже хороший, вони мені допомагали з поселенням, виселенням і подібними речами. Assets – активи.
Just read an article. Coca-Cola is trying to reduce the number of staff and the number of assets.
Competition – конкуренція, competitors – конкуренти.
I love competition. I love because nothing pushes and stimulates me more than a good competition.
Get inspired by your competitors. Надихатися вашими конкурентами. For example, I always get inspired by my competitors because I know for sure how much time and efforts they invest into producing some content. Я завжди надихаюся нашими конкурентами, тому що я знаю точно, скільки часу та зусиль вони інвестують у створення контенту. Accomplishment – досягнення. For example, the biggest accomplishment of my studies was when I defended my master thesis in English. Найбільшим досягненням у мої студентські роки у період навчання було те, що я захистила свою дипломну роботу англійською мовою. Profit – прибуток або вигода. Profitable – прибутковий, рентабельний, вигідний.
Because your margins are so thin and your profits are so small.
If you find this video useful, please hit the like button and subscribe to our channel if you haven't done so yet. If you're looking for some learning opportunities in terms of improving your communication skills in English, both written and speaking ones, we prepared for you a workshop if you need to improve your public speaking skills, but also a course for those who would like to boost their confidence in terms of using grammar or speaking skills. So the description of those courses you may find below this video. And remember, small steps lead to a big difference. Make your step forward. See you online and see you around.